The Empire's big problem. The Galactic Empire, a colossal and fearsome force in the galaxy, had never faced a challenge quite like this. Its vast armadas and advanced technology had crushed countless civilizations, but whispers of a new threat were causing unease among the Empire's elite. In the heart of the Empire's capital, the Grand Council chamber buzzed with activity. High-ranking officials and military leaders gathered for an urgent meeting. The room was filled with the hum of holographic projections and the clinking of metal chairs as the council members took their seats. Lord Varys, the Empire's most powerful general, slammed his fist on the table. "These reports about the humans are absurd," he growled. "How can a backwater race pose any real threat to us?" Grand Admiral Kale, a veteran of many battles, leaned forward, her expression serious. "I agree that these stories sound far-fetched, but our scouts have confirmed that something unusual is happening. There are reports of humans with extraordinary abilities, ones that defy our understanding." The room fell silent. The idea of humans possessing godlike powers was difficult to swallow. The Empire had always viewed humans as primitive and insignificant, a mere annoyance in the grand scheme of things, but the reports were persistent and troubling. "We cannot ignore these warnings," said Minister Lyra, the Empire's chief strategist. "Even if the humans are not a threat now, we must investigate. If these abilities are real, they could shift the balance of power in the galaxy." Varys scoffed. "So what if they have some strange abilities? We have conquered entire star systems. A handful of humans won't change that." Kale shook her head. "It's not just about their abilities. It's about what those abilities represent. If they have technology or skills that we don't understand, it could be dangerous. We need to know more before dismissing them." The council agreed to send a team of scouts to investigate further. The team was composed of the Empire's best operatives, trained to handle any situation. Their mission was clear: find out what made these humans so special, and, if necessary, eliminate the threat before it grew any larger. Meanwhile, on a remote human colony known as Nuterra, life went on as usual. The colony was a small, self-sufficient world, far from the Empire's gaze. The humans who lived there were skilled and resourceful, but they had always kept a low profile, avoiding unnecessary conflicts. But recently, strange occurrences had begun to disrupt their peaceful existence. The colony's defense systems, which had been dormant for years, activated on their own. Shadows moved in the dark, and unexplained phenomena began to occur. The colony's leaders were puzzled and concerned. "Something is not right," said Captain Alina, the colony's head of security. "We've had reports of strange energy readings and sightings of unknown craft in our space." Dr. Marcus, the colony's chief scientist, examined the data. "These readings are off the charts. It's as if something or someone is testing our defenses." The humans of Nuterra were not easily intimidated. They had survived many challenges and were determined to protect their home. But the recent developments were unsettling. They decided to investigate the source of the disturbances. As the scouts from the Empire approached Nuterra, they were careful to keep their presence hidden. They observed the colony from a distance, taking note of the humans' activities and defenses. To their surprise, the humans appeared to be well prepared and resilient. The scouts reported back to the council, providing detailed accounts of the humans' abilities and technological advancements. The Empire's leaders were both intrigued and alarmed. The humans' potential as a threat was becoming more apparent. Lord Varys, still skeptical, dismissed the reports. "These are just isolated incidents. We've faced bigger challenges before. Why should we be concerned about a small human colony?" Grand Admiral Kale's eyes narrowed. "We cannot afford to be complacent. If these humans possess the abilities and technology reported, they could become a significant threat. We must act cautiously and be prepared for any eventuality." The council agreed to escalate their efforts. They planned to launch a more detailed reconnaissance mission to gather more information and assess the true extent of the threat. The Empire's resources were mobilized, and preparations for a potential conflict began. Back on Nuterra, The colony's leaders continued their investigation, unaware of the impending danger. They were determined to uncover the truth behind the strange occurrences and protect their home from any potential threat. As tensions rose, both the Empire and the humans faced uncertainty. The once dismissed humans were now a serious concern, and the Empire's actions would determine the fate of both sides. The stage was set for a confrontation that could change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Galactic Empire, known for its dominance and power, was now confronted with a challenge it had never anticipated. The humans, once considered insignificant, were emerging as a formidable force. The Empire's leaders had to decide whether to confront this new threat or risk being overpowered by it. In the quiet corners of the human colony, preparations were underway. The humans were ready to face whatever came their way, determined to protect their world and their way of life. The Empire's big problem had only just begun. First contact. The quiet of New Terra was shattered one crisp morning. The sun was just rising, casting a warm glow over the colony's landscape when the first signs of trouble appeared. Strange, shadowy shapes moved across the sky. The colony's defense systems, long dormant, flared to life with unexpected intensity. Captain Alina, the head of security, stood on the observation deck, her eyes scanning the horizon. "We've got incoming," she said sharply to her team. "Prepare for a possible breach." In the command center, Dr. Marcus and his team analyzed the readings. "The energy signatures are unlike anything we've seen," Marcus said, his brow furrowed. "We need to be ready for anything." The mysterious shapes were revealed to be a fleet of sleek, imposing ships from the Galactic Empire. They hovered ominously above New Terra, their dark forms contrasting sharply with the bright sky. The Empire's scouts had arrived, and they were here to assess the humans they had heard so much about. As the Empire's ships descended, the colony's defense systems sprang into action. The hum of energy shields and the whir of laser cannons filled the air. The humans, though surprised, were prepared. Their technology, while not as advanced as the Empire's, was robust and efficient. On board the lead ship of the Empire's fleet, Commander Xelos observed the scene with growing curiosity. "The humans are reacting as expected," he reported to his superior, Lord Varys, back at the Empire's capital. "Their defenses are impressive, but we can overwhelm them with our firepower." Varys' voice crackled over the comms. "Proceed with caution. We need to understand what we're dealing with before making any aggressive moves. We don't want to provoke them prematurely." The Empire's scouts launched small, unmanned drones to gather more information. The drones flew low over the colony, recording every detail. The humans below watched with a mix of curiosity and unease as the drones buzzed overhead. Captain Alina, observing the drones through her own high-tech equipment, frowned. "They're gathering intelligence," she said. "We need to find out what they're after." Dr. Marcus adjusted the settings on his console, trying to jam the drone signals. "If we can intercept their communications, we might learn more about their intentions." As the drones continued their surveillance, a few Empire ground troops began to disembark. They were clad in sleek, silver armor and carried advanced weaponry. They moved with precision, their steps light but purposeful. The humans readied their own defenses. They were not sure if this was a peaceful visit or a prelude to an attack. They sent a small delegation to meet the Empire's troops, led by Captain Alina herself. The Empire's troops formed a perimeter. Their leader, a tall and imposing figure named Sergeant Torek, stepped forward to greet the humans. "We come in peace," he announced, though his tone lacked warmth. "We are here to learn about your world and your people." Alina eyed him warily. "And if we refuse to cooperate?" Torek's gaze remained steady. "Then we will leave and report back to our superiors. We have no intention of causing unnecessary conflict." Alina's mind raced. She signaled her team to maintain readiness, but decided to engage in dialogue. "Very well. You can observe, but we will monitor your activities closely." As the Empire's team began their exploration of New Terra, they were struck by the planet's unique environment and the humans' remarkable adaptability. The humans demonstrated their technology and daily life, showcasing their advancements in energy production, agriculture, and defense systems. The Empire's scouts were impressed. The humans' technology was not as advanced as their own, but it was efficient and cleverly designed. The Empire's leaders began to realize that the humans were not as primitive as they had initially thought. Back at the Empire's capital, Lord Varys reviewed the data from the scouts with growing concern. The humans have capabilities we didn't anticipate. They are not to be underestimated. Grand Admiral Kale nodded. We should consider a more detailed analysis before taking any further action. If the humans possess even a fraction of the abilities reported, we need to be prepared. The Empire's scouts continued their observations, and the humans, while wary, went about their daily lives. There was a mutual curiosity, though the tension was palpable. Both sides were trying to gauge each other's intentions. As the days passed, the Empire's presence on New Terra became a topic of discussion among the colony's inhabitants. Rumors and theories circulated about the visitors' true motives. Some feared an imminent invasion, while others hoped for peaceful cooperation. Captain Elena held meetings with her team to strategize their next steps. "We need to be cautious," she said. "If they're gathering intelligence, it could mean they're planning something. We must be ready to defend ourselves if necessary." Dr. Marcus, ever the optimist, suggested a different approach. "Perhaps we can use this opportunity to learn about them as well. If we understand their technology and tactics, we might find a way to coexist." The uneasy peace continued, with both sides watching each other closely. The Empire's scouts collected valuable data, and the humans prepared for any potential escalation. The first contact had set the stage for a complex and uncertain future. In the end, the initial meeting between the humans and the Galactic Empire had shown that neither side fully understood the other. The Empire's curiosity about the humans was growing, while the humans remained vigilant, unsure of what lay ahead. The seeds of a potential conflict were sown, but the outcome remained uncertain. The stage was set for a confrontation that could change the galaxy forever. Humans prepare. The atmosphere on New Terra was tense as the colony's leaders gathered in the command center. The recent arrival of the Galactic Empire's scouts had stirred a mixture of fear and determination among the humans. They knew they needed to prepare for any potential threat, while trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy. Captain Elena, the head of security, stood at the front of the room, her face serious. "We've had our first contact with the Empire. They're observing us closely, and their technology is far superior to ours. We need to be ready for anything." Dr. Marcus, the colony's chief scientist, nodded in agreement. "We've analyzed their technology and capabilities. While we might not match them in terms of sheer power, we have our own strengths that we can leverage." The command center buzzed with activity as the humans set about their preparations. Engineers and technicians worked around the clock to upgrade and fortify their defenses. New energy shields were installed, and existing weapon systems were enhanced to improve their effectiveness. "We need to focus on our defensive capabilities," Elena said. "If they decide to attack, we must be able to hold them off long enough to call for reinforcements." In the colony's workshop, a team of engineers was busy modifying the laser cannons and energy barriers. These upgrades were essential for repelling any potential assault from the Empire's advanced ships. The engineers worked with a sense of urgency, knowing that their efforts could determine the fate of the colony. Meanwhile, Dr. Marcus and his team conducted research to better understand the Empire's technology. They used the data collected by their sensors to analyze the Empire's energy signatures and communication patterns. The goal was to find any weaknesses or vulnerabilities that could be exploited. "We're making progress," Marcus said, examining a series of holographic displays. "Their energy shields are strong, but there might be a way to disrupt their communication systems. If we can interfere with their ability to coordinate, it could give us an advantage." The humans also turned their attention to their own technology. They began testing new strategies and tactics to counter the Empire's potential attacks. Training exercises were held to ensure that everyone was prepared for a possible conflict. In the training areas, soldiers practiced maneuvers and simulated battles. The drills were intense, and the participants gave their all, knowing that their skills could be crucial in the coming days. Captain Alina observed the exercises, offering feedback and making adjustments to improve their effectiveness. One of the training drills involved defending against simulated attacks from the Empire's ships. The soldiers practiced using the upgraded laser cannons and energy barriers to repel the incoming fire. The exercises were designed to prepare them for the possibility of a real battle. As the humans prepared, rumors and speculation continued to circulate throughout the colony. Some inhabitants worried about the possibility of an invasion, while others hoped that the Empire might be open to peaceful negotiations. The uncertainty of the situation weighed heavily on everyone. In the midst of the preparations, Captain Alina called a meeting with the colony's leaders. "We need to discuss our long-term strategy," she said. "While we prepare for the worst, we should also consider how we can use diplomacy to our advantage." The leaders discussed various approaches to handling the Empire. Some advocated for a show of strength to deter any potential aggression, while others suggested trying to establish communication and negotiate a peaceful resolution. Dr. Marcus, ever the optimist, proposed reaching out to the Empire directly. "If we can open a line of communication, we might be able to find common ground and avoid conflict. We should send a diplomatic message offering to discuss our differences." The idea was met with mixed reactions. Some leaders were hesitant, fearing that such an approach might be seen as a sign of weakness. Others saw it as a chance to avoid unnecessary bloodshed. After much debate, it was decided that a diplomatic message would be sent to the Empire, along with an offer for a formal meeting. The message was carefully crafted to convey the humans' willingness to discuss their concerns and seek a peaceful resolution. As the message was transmitted to the Empire, the humans continued their preparations. The colony's defenses were now at their highest alert, and everyone remained on edge, awaiting a response from the Empire. In the Empire's command center, Lord Varys reviewed the diplomatic message with interest. "The humans are making an effort to communicate," he said. "It seems they want to avoid conflict. We should consider their offer, but we must remain cautious." Grand Admiral Kale nodded. "Agreed. We will prepare for a possible diplomatic meeting, while maintaining our readiness for any potential conflict. It's important to stay alert and be prepared for any outcome." The Empire's response was swift. A formal meeting was scheduled, and both sides prepared for the diplomatic encounter. The humans hoped that this meeting might offer a chance for peace, while the Empire remained wary of the potential threat. As the day of the meeting approached, the tension on New Terra remained high. The colony's leaders were hopeful but cautious, knowing that their preparations would be crucial no matter the outcome of the negotiations. The humans had done everything they could to prepare for the Empire's arrival, both in terms of defense and diplomacy. The stage was set for a pivotal moment in the history of New Terra and the Galactic Empire. Whether this encounter would lead to a peaceful resolution or an all-out conflict remained to be seen. In the meantime, the humans held their breath, waiting for the next move in the unfolding drama. The future of their colony and their place in the galaxy hinged on the outcome of the coming meeting with the Empire. The battle starts. The day of the diplomatic meeting had arrived. New Terra's command center was a hive of activity as the colony's leaders and security personnel made final preparations. The tension was palpable, with everyone bracing for the possibility of conflict. The Empire's ships hovered above the planet, a constant reminder of the uncertainty that lay ahead. Captain Alina paced the command center, her mind racing. "We're ready for the meeting," she said, trying to stay calm. "But we need to be prepared for any eventuality. If things go wrong, we must act quickly." Dr. Marcus, standing beside her, adjusted his equipment. "We've fortified our defenses and prepared contingency plans. Let's hope that diplomacy will prevail, but we must stay vigilant." The time for the meeting arrived, and representatives from the Galactic Empire descended onto New Terra's surface. The Empire's delegation, led by Commander Xelos, landed in a sleek, heavily armored transport. The ship's imposing design and advanced technology were a stark contrast to the more modest surroundings of the human colony. The humans had set up a neutral meeting area, carefully chosen to avoid any potential conflict. The space was equipped with communication devices and a secure environment to facilitate the discussions. As the Empire's delegation disembarked, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Commander Xelos, clad in his dark armor, stepped forward. He was a figure of authority, his presence commanding respect. "We are here to discuss the issues between our two worlds," he announced. "We hope for a peaceful resolution." Captain Elena greeted him with a firm handshake. "Welcome to New Terra. We hope this meeting will lead to a better understanding between our peoples." The meeting began with formalities and introductions, but as the discussions progressed, it became clear that the tensions were not entirely resolved. The Empire's representatives were probing for weaknesses, while the humans remained on guard. "We have reviewed the data from your colony," Xelos said. "It is evident that you have made significant advancements. However, your technology still does not match ours." Elena took a deep breath. "We are not here to compete. We seek peaceful coexistence and mutual respect. If there are concerns, we are open to addressing them." As the meeting continued, an urgent alert interrupted the proceedings. The command center screens flashed with warnings of an incoming attack. The Empire's ships, previously passive, had begun to deploy small, heavily armed drones towards the colony. Captain Elena's heart raced as she turned to her team. "We're under attack. Prepare the defenses immediately." The Empire's drones descended rapidly, targeting key infrastructure and defense systems. The once quiet meeting space erupted into chaos as the humans scrambled to respond. The defensive barriers activated, and the laser cannons fired at the approaching drones. Dr. Marcus, watching the screens with alarm, called out, "They're targeting our power sources. We need to reroute energy to the shields." Elena's voice was steady but urgent. "All units, engage the drones. Protect the command center and civilian areas at all costs." The humans fought back with determination, their defenses holding firm against the drone assault. The Empire's drones were highly advanced, but the humans' upgrades and preparedness allowed them to repel the initial wave. In the midst of the battle, Commander Xelos and his delegation were taken by surprise. The sudden escalation had caught them off guard. Xelos quickly assessed the situation and issued orders to his troops. "Activate the support drones and deploy ground forces," Xelos commanded. "We need to neutralize the human defenses and secure the area." The Empire's ground troops advanced, their armored units moving with precision. They clashed with the humans, who fought back with bravery and resilience. The battle that had started with diplomacy now raged across New Terra's surface. Captain Elena coordinated the defense from the command center, her eyes focused on the unfolding battle. "Hold the line," she shouted into the comms. "We can't let them break through." Dr. Marcus continued to monitor the energy levels, making adjustments to keep the shields operational. "The Empire's forces are powerful, but we're holding our ground. We need to keep the pressure on their troops." Despite their efforts, the Empire's superior technology and firepower began to take their toll. The humans' defenses were strained, and the Empire's ground forces made significant gains. The once confident humans now faced the harsh reality of the Empire's might. In the midst of the chaos, Elena received a message from her superiors. "We're calling for an evacuation of non-combatants," the message said. "Ensure the safety of the civilians and continue to resist." Elena relayed the order to her team. "Evacuate all civilians to the safe zones immediately. We'll continue to fight until they're all secured." The evacuation began, with civilians being guided to designated shelters. The humans fought with everything they had, their resolve unshaken despite the overwhelming odds. They knew that their survival depended on their ability to resist and adapt. As the battle raged on, The Empire's ships continued to hover above, their ominous presence casting a shadow over New Terra. The fight for the colony had become a desperate struggle, with both sides determined to achieve their objectives. The first day of the battle ended with heavy losses on both sides. The humans had managed to hold off the Empire's initial assault, but the cost was high. The defenders were exhausted, and the damage to the colony was significant. Captain Elena surveyed the damage, her heart heavy with the weight of the day's events. "We've held them off for now, but we must be ready for more. The Empire won't stop easily." Dr. Marcus, covered in grime but determined, nodded. "We'll continue to fight and adapt. Our people's survival depends on it." As night fell on New Terra, the battle continued, and the outcome remained uncertain. The humans faced an uncertain future, but their spirit and determination were undiminished. The conflict with the Galactic Empire had only just begun, and the struggle for New Terra was far from over. Empire's last resort. The aftermath of the first day of battle had left New Terra in a state of disarray. The colony's defenses were battered, and the humans were exhausted but resolute. The Empire's forces had made significant progress, but they faced stiff resistance from the determined humans. As night fell, both sides were preparing for what would come next. In the command center, Captain Elena reviewed the damage reports and coordinated the recovery efforts. "We've managed to stabilize the energy shields and repair some of the defenses," she said, addressing her team. "But we need to anticipate what the Empire might do next. They're not going to back down easily." Dr. Marcus, examining the latest data, nodded. "The Empire's drones and ground troops are formidable. We've managed to disrupt some of their operations, but they're likely preparing a more intense assault." Across the galaxy, the Empire's leadership was grappling with the situation. Lord Varys and his top strategists gathered in a war room aboard the Empire's flagship. The room was dimly lit, illuminated only by the glow of various holographic displays. Varys looked at the projections with a frown. "The humans are more resilient than we anticipated. Our initial strategy was not sufficient to break their defenses. We need to consider our options carefully." Grand Admiral Kale, a seasoned warrior with a reputation for ruthless efficiency, spoke up. "We've underestimated their determination. If we continue with conventional tactics, we risk prolonging the conflict and incurring more losses. We need a decisive approach." Varys sighed. "What do you propose?" Cal's eyes narrowed. "We should consider using our last resort. The Reclaimer. It's a powerful weapon designed to overwhelm even the most determined defenses. It could give us the upper hand we need to break the humans' resolve." The Reclaimer was a massive experimental weapon capable of causing widespread destruction. It had been designed for situations where conventional tactics failed, and its use was considered a last resort. Varys hesitated, knowing the implications of deploying such a weapon. "Deploying the Reclaimer would mean significant collateral damage," Varys said. "We'd be risking not only the colony but also potential diplomatic fallout if any human survivors were to report our actions." Kale remained steadfast. "Sometimes sacrifices must be made for the greater good. If we don't use the Reclaimer, the conflict will drag on, and we'll face even greater losses. We must end this quickly and decisively." Varys considered Cal's words. After a moment of contemplation, he made his decision. "Prepare the Reclaimer for deployment. We will use it as a last resort if our current strategy fails to achieve our objectives." Back on New Terra, the humans continued to brace themselves for the ongoing battle. Despite their efforts to repair and reinforce their defenses, the pressure from the Empire's relentless attacks was taking its toll. Captain Elena stood at the command center, her face set with determination. "We've received reports of increased activity from the Empire's fleet. They're preparing for something big." Dr. Marcus, analyzing the incoming data, looked up with concern. "We've detected unusual energy signatures. It's possible they're deploying a new weapon. We need to prepare for the worst." The humans worked tirelessly to strengthen their defenses and evacuate non-essential personnel to safer areas. The colony's leadership knew that their chances of survival depended on their ability to adapt and respond to the Empire's next move. As the Empire's forces intensified their attacks, the humans fought back with everything they had. The battle raged on, with each side pushing their limits. The Empire's ground troops and drones continued their assault, but the humans' resolve remained unshaken. Then, without warning, the Empire's flagship fired the Reclaimer. The weapon unleashed a massive energy wave that surged towards New Terra. The impact was devastating. The force of the blast overwhelmed the colony's defenses, causing widespread destruction. Captain Elena watched in horror as the energy wave approached. "Activate all remaining shields and redirect power to key defense points," she shouted. "We have to minimize the damage." Despite their efforts, the energy wave breached the colony's defenses, causing catastrophic damage. Buildings crumbled, and fires erupted across New Terra. The once thriving colony was now a scene of chaos and devastation. The humans fought desperately to contain the damage and protect the remaining civilians. The Reclaimer's attack had caused a severe blow, but the human spirit remained unbroken. They continued to resist, determined to defend their home and survive. In the Empire's command center, Varys watched the destruction unfold with a mixture of satisfaction and regret. "The Reclaimer has achieved its objective," he said. "The humans' defenses are severely compromised." Grand Admiral Kale, observing the aftermath, nodded. "We've broken their resolve. The next step is to secure the colony and force them to surrender." Back on New Terra, the humans were reeling from the Reclaimer's impact. Captain Elena and her team worked tirelessly to manage the crisis, coordinating rescue efforts and assessing the damage. "We've lost much," Elena said, her voice heavy with emotion. "But we can't give up. We must continue to fight and find a way to turn this around." Dr. Marcus, battered but resolute, added, "We faced impossible odds before. We can't let this defeat us. We need to regroup, recover, and find a way to push back." As the battle continued, the fate of New Terra hung in the balance. The Empire's use of the Reclaimer had shifted the tide of the conflict, but the humans' determination and resilience remained unwavering. The struggle for survival was far from over, and the outcome of the conflict remained uncertain. In the midst of the devastation, the human spirit and resolve were tested like never before. They faced an uncertain future, but their determination to defend their home and fight for their survival burned brightly amidst the ruins. The final clash. New Terra was in ruins. The Empire's Reclaimer weapon had left the colony devastated, but the humans were not defeated. Amid the smoldering wreckage and scattered debris, they regrouped and prepared for what would be their final stand. The Empire had made a critical mistake. They underestimated the resilience and spirit of humanity. Captain Elena stood among her team in the command center, now a shell of its former self. The once bustling area was now quiet except for the hum of emergency generators and the distant sounds of repair work. "We've suffered heavy losses, but we still have some defenses left," she said, her voice resolute despite the circumstances. "We can't afford to give up now." Dr. Marcus, examining the latest reports, nodded. "Our remaining defenses are stretched thin, but we've managed to fortify key positions. We need to use every resource we have and make our stand count." The Empire's fleet, having seen the effects of their devastating weapon, was now preparing for the final assault. Lord Varys, aboard his flagship, surveyed the battered remains of New Terra with grim satisfaction. "The Reclaimer did its job," he said to his officers. "Now we just need to mop up the remaining resistance." Grand Admiral Kale, standing beside him, added, "Our forces are ready to move in and secure the colony. We'll need to eliminate any remaining human resistance to ensure total control." As the Empire's forces prepared for their final push, the humans rallied their remaining strength. Captain Elena knew that their chances were slim, but she refused to surrender without a fight. "We've been through worse," she told her team. "We've lost a lot, but we still have each other. We fight for our home and our future. The final clash began as the Empire's troops advanced on the colony's last strongholds. The humans, though battered and weary, took their positions. Every remaining soldier, technician, and civilian willing to fight prepared for what would be their most desperate battle. The Empire's forces launched their assault with precision, targeting the last of New Terra's defenses. The ground shook with the impact of their heavy artillery, and the sky was filled with the sounds of explosions and the whine of laser fire. Captain Alina commanded from a makeshift command post, directing the defense efforts. "We need to hold them off for as long as we can," she instructed. "Focus fire on their advancing troops and protect the civilians in the safe zones." Dr. Marcus worked frantically to keep the remaining energy shields operational, his hands moving quickly over the controls. "We've got incoming troops in the eastern sector," he shouted. "Reinforce that area and reroute power to the shields." The humans fought with every ounce of their strength, their determination evident in every action. Despite the Empire's overwhelming firepower, the humans used guerrilla tactics and hit-and-run attacks to slow their advance. The Empire's ground forces, confident in their superiority, pushed forward relentlessly. They were met with fierce resistance from the humans, who fought with a tenacity born from their will to survive. As the battle raged on, Captain Alina and her team managed to score a few victories. They disrupted the Empire's advances and inflicted significant damage on their forces. But the cost was high. The human defenders were being pushed back, their numbers dwindling. The Empire's flagship continued to orbit above, its weapons systems primed for any further resistance. Lord Varys, watching the conflict unfold, was determined to end the battle decisively. "We're closing in on their last defenses," he said. "Prepare for the final push." As the Empire's forces reached the last strongholds, the humans made their final stand. The remaining defenders fought with unyielding courage, their determination to protect their home giving them strength. Captain Alina, in the thick of the fighting, knew that their efforts were coming to a head. "Hold your ground," she shouted to her troops. "We will not let them take our home." Dr. Marcus, despite the chaos around him, managed to get one last message through to their allies. "We need help. We're holding our ground, but we can't do this alone. If anyone can hear this, we need reinforcements." As the Empire's troops began to overrun the last defenses, the humans faced their final moments of battle. The Empire's forces, now firmly in control, began to secure the colony. But even in defeat, the human spirit remained unbroken. Captain Alina, battered and exhausted, looked out over the ruins of New Terra. "We fought with everything we had," she said, her voice filled with a mixture of pride and sorrow. "We may have lost the battle, but we've shown them what humanity is capable of." The Empire's forces, though victorious, faced an uncertain future. The humans had demonstrated a fierce resistance and an indomitable spirit. The cost of their victory had been high, and the Empire was left to ponder the true nature of their conquest. As the dust settled and the fighting came to an end, New Terra lay in ruins, but the legacy of its defenders endured. The humans had fought with honor and determination, proving that even in the face of overwhelming odds, their spirit could not be extinguished. In the aftermath of the final clash, the Empire faced a new reality. The humans had shown that their resolve was as formidable as their technology, and as the Empire began to consolidate its control, it became clear that the conflict had changed both sides forever. A new era. The dust of the final battle had settled over New Terra, leaving behind a landscape of devastation. The once thriving colony now lay in ruins, its buildings shattered and its infrastructure crippled. The Empire's victory had come at a great cost, and the humans' fierce resistance had left an indelible mark on their conquerors. In the aftermath of the battle, the Empire's forces began the process of securing and rebuilding what remained of New Terra. Lord Varys and Grand Admiral Kale oversaw the operations from the Empire's flagship, now orbiting the damaged planet. The mood was somber, reflecting the gravity of their victory. Varys surveyed the scenes of destruction through the viewport of his flagship. The Reclaimer was effective, but the cost of this victory is far greater than we anticipated, he said, his voice heavy with reflection. The humans' resistance has left us with much to rebuild. Cale nodded in agreement. Their determination and spirit were formidable. We underestimated their resilience, and the aftermath of this conflict will have long-lasting effects on both sides. On New Terra, the surviving humans were working to cope with the aftermath of the battle. Despite the immense damage, their spirit remained strong. Captain Alina, now a symbol of human resistance, was at the forefront of efforts to assist her fellow survivors. Alina moved through the wreckage, coordinating recovery operations and helping to organize aid for those in need. "We've lost a lot," she said to her team, "but we need to focus on rebuilding and helping each other. We're going to get through this together." Dr. Marcus, working alongside Alina, was focused on assessing the damage and finding ways to restore essential systems. "It's going to take time," he said, "but we'll rebuild. We've shown that we can withstand the worst, and we'll come back stronger." The Empire's occupation forces began their work to establish control over the planet. They set up administrative centers and began to restore order, but their presence was met with a mixture of resentment and resignation from the surviving humans. In the midst of this, a new chapter was beginning to unfold. The Empire, having witnessed the humans' unyielding spirit and the cost of their victory, faced the reality of governing a planet that had resisted them so fiercely. Lord Varys held a meeting with his senior advisors. "We need to consider our approach moving forward," he said. "We've achieved our objectives, but the manner in which we govern New Terra will determine the future of our relationship with the human population." Grand Admiral Cale, known for his strategic prowess, offered his insight. "We can't continue with the same heavy-handed tactics. We need to implement a policy of reconciliation and support to stabilize the planet and integrate the human population into our system." Varys considered this. "Agreed. We need to show that our presence here is not just about control, but about building a future where both sides can coexist. It won't be easy, but it's necessary for long-term stability." Back on the ground, efforts to rebuild and restore New Terra were underway. The humans worked tirelessly to repair what they could and adapt to the new reality. Amid the rebuilding, there was a growing sense of hope and determination. Captain Alina addressed a gathering of survivors, sharing her vision for the future. "We've faced unimaginable challenges, but we've proven our strength and resilience. We need to look ahead and work towards rebuilding our society. We may be under Empire control for now, but we will continue to fight for our rights and our future." The Empire, recognizing the importance of addressing the needs of the human population, began to implement measures to improve conditions on New Terra. They provided aid, resources, and support to help the planet recover from the devastation. As the weeks passed, a tentative new order began to take shape. The Empire's administrators worked to establish a framework for cooperation with the human population, seeking to address their needs and concerns. Dr. Marcus, involved in the rebuilding efforts, noted the gradual improvements. "Things are slowly getting better," he said. "The Empire is making efforts to support us, and we're finding ways to adapt and move forward." Despite the challenges, the spirit of the humans remained unbroken. They continued to rebuild their homes and communities, drawing strength from their shared experiences and the resolve that had carried them through the darkest days. In the broader galaxy, the events on New Terra were a topic of discussion. The Empire's handling of the aftermath and the resilient human response were closely watched by other worlds. The conflict had revealed the depth of human determination and the complexities of interstellar politics. As time went on, a new era began to emerge on New Terra. The scars of the conflict were still visible, but they served as a reminder of the strength and courage of those who had fought to protect their home. Captain Alina and Dr. Marcus, along with their fellow survivors, continued to work towards a better future. They faced the challenges of rebuilding and adapting to their new reality, but their spirit remained unwavering. The legacy of their struggle and resilience became a part of New Terra's story. The humans had faced overwhelming odds and emerged with a renewed sense of purpose. The Empire, having learned from the conflict, sought to build a new chapter in its relationship with humanity. In the end, New Terra's experience became a symbol of the enduring strength of the human spirit and the potential for growth and reconciliation even after the most devastating of conflicts. The planet and its people were moving into a new era, one shaped by their experiences and their determination to build a better future.